We analyzed some of the challenges posed by room acoustics and your listening environment, and we already talked about some solutions such as placing your monitors correctly and making the best of your home studio with resources that are easily available. But there are several other methods you can use to improve your mixes, and we will cover them in this section. 1. Mix at a low volume. This is probably the most important thing you can learn about mixing. We all love listening to loud music, but when it comes to mixing, it's a good idea to work at low volumes. There are three main reasons for this. 1. Our ears are more sensitive to sounds in the middle frequency range. We can hear a sound in the middle frequencies even if it's very quiet. But a sound in the lower frequencies needs to be much louder for us to be able to hear it. The same thing goes for sounds in the high frequency range. This is indicated by the Fletcher-Manson curve or equal loudness counter shown here. This difference between frequencies is more obvious at low volumes and becomes less and less important at higher volumes. What this means is that if you mix at a high volume, you will hear plenty of highs and lows and you will tend to turn them down. So when you listen to the same mix at a moderate or low volume, the highs and lows will almost disappear. So by working at a low volume, you actually guarantee that you will have a better frequency balance in your mix. 2. In a typical home studio, you use what are called near-field monitors, meaning monitors designed to be placed near you. This is good because it minimizes the problems caused by room acoustics. You don't have to worry about acoustic issues like room modes, standing waves, and excessive reflection when almost all the sound you hear is coming directly from your monitors. This happens, of course, when you're working at a low volume. But when you crank up the volume, you send powerful sound waves reflecting back and forth around your room, and all the acoustic problems in your listening environment will start to affect what you're hearing. So by mixing at a low volume, you are effectively reducing the impact of acoustics on your mixes. 3. Most important, when you work at high volumes for an extended period of time, you will have ear fatigue. This will cause you to make bad mixing decisions, and more important, it is hazardous for your hearing. So what's an ideal level to mix at? A simple rule of thumb is to mix at such a volume that you can comfortably talk to someone across the room without shouting. Of course, you can go ahead and turn up the volume from time to time to see how your mix sounds when it's cranked up, but make sure you keep it short and turn it back down. Remember, you can listen to it as loud as you want once you've finished mixing. 2. Use a reference track. Sometimes it's hard to have a clear vision for your mix or determine how to place your instruments within your three-dimensional soundscape. In such cases, it's a good idea to get some inspiration from the pros. Find a great sounding track that's in the same genre as your music with roughly the same instruments. Import that track to your project, and when you get stuck, use that track as a reference. Try to match the instruments in your mix to the instruments in your reference on different levels, their respective volumes, positioning, depth as implied by reverb and delay, timbre, etc. Working with a reference track helps you maintain a clear perspective and vision for your mix. There are now some plugins that attempt to match your mix to a reference track, but you will become much more competent at mixing if you try to do it manually. 3. Use Visual Assistant. I started music production in the analog era, and back then they taught us to mix with our ears, not with our eyes. That made a lot of sense because the visual indicators on analog devices were mostly inaccurate and unreliable, but things have changed in the digital era. We now have plugins that analyze and display many parameters on our music with incredible precision, and they will provide very valuable information about your mix if you know how to read them. As we saw in earlier lessons, your monitor speakers and room acoustics may fool you, but a spectrum analyzer will tell you exactly what's going on in your mix as far as frequency distribution is concerned. You may have too much bass or too little, but you may not notice it because of your monitors. But you will know instantly if you use a spectrometer. Here's the ultimate combo. Use an analyzer with a reference track. So here's the mix I'm working on. And here's my reference track. How does my mix compare with the reference track in the bass frequencies? Let's see them side by side. See, even if I have the worst speakers in the world, I can clearly see that my mix is shy on the bass. It doesn't end here. Visual assistance plugins can tell you how loud your mix is compared to loudness standards implemented by digital platforms such as Spotify. That can tell you if there are any phase issues, and a lot more. So yes, mix with your ears, but don't be shy about using your eyes as well. 4. Don't push it. Our ears get tired easily, and when you have ear fatigue, you will end up making bad mixing decisions. When you come back to your mix the next day, you will have to spend time correcting those bad decisions. So save yourself the trouble and take frequent breaks. On average, it's good practice to mix for 2 to 3 hours, then take a 30-minute break, work another 2 to 3 hours and leave it for the day. This helps you to work with fresh ears and protects your hearing.